The imagination is nothing more than a preview of what a life that is going to come to you if you're willing to grow into it. If you're willing to grow into it, then that means that's possible. But what ends up holding us back is normally going to be, sometimes it's relationships, friendships, belief systems, values, so on and so forth. It's really about unbecoming than actually becoming. Because in order to bring in a new operating system of thinking, you first have to remove the old programming.
Welcome to the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast, the ultimate destination for accredited investors and entrepreneurs seeking alternative wealth-building strategies. Discover how to fast-track your journey to wealth and time freedom by thinking outside the box. If you're ready to join the ranks of the Contrarian Capitalists and learn the most effective ways to reach your financial goals faster, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast.
What's up, people? This is your favorite silverback, Sylvania Harrod, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast. On today's episode, what I want to talk about is something that is near and dear to my heart, which is how I found the most effective method of creating goals that you can be able to accomplish on autopilot. So let's get right into it. When it comes to goals, there's lots of different processes that are out there that I've seen. These goals and how I go through this process is based upon what works for me. And just like going ahead and trying on another person's shoes, they may feel a little awkward, they may feel a little clunky, but the reality is that I like to set goals because the problem is I'm super ADHD. So if I don't have like clear processes and clear systems in place, I can't really accomplish the goals that I want to be able to do over time. So I also think about goals a little contrarian in nature. So for me, I look at as us as human beings, we're nothing but a bunch of emotional patterns. We're just patterns upon patterns upon patterns. So I don't try to fight the game. I try to understand the rules of the game and be able to implement things that will work for the game to go there. So let's talk about it. You have one of the acronyms that happens to be out there that's very well prevalent is called SMART goals. Like you're going to be very specific about what you want. You want to be able to measure what you're doing. You want to have specific actions you're going to take. You have to have results from those actions, and they have to be time specific. So when I think about things as far as goals go, let's just say I don't go any more than 3 years. While 10, 25, that's cool, it's sexy. It's so hard for your brain to be able to comprehend what's going to be here in 20 plus years. Because the reality is, if we look back 20 years ago, it's so fundamentally different today than it was thinking back in 2004. So, but I can tell you what things felt like into 2021 and what that experience was like, because it feels more tangible and real. Now, the older you get, the more time seems to go by quicker, and that's okay too. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to use our neurology to help us be able to accomplish things consistently. So being very specific is great. The more details, the better. But some of us, unfortunately, can't get super granular details. So I like to simplify things to a space where I know exactly what I need to do for that day. So when I think about things, let's just say financially, to go there, I'll give you a specific example. So financially, everybody needs to have their BAM, their bare ass minimum. You need to know what your numbers are. Now, in some situations, there are schools of thought who go in and they are in this place of like savings focused. And they're like, I want to save every possible dollar I possibly can be able to get at. I don't spend any money that happens to be out there. But I'm sorry, I'm an experience-based creature. So I know myself and I know the things that I like to be able to do. And those things and I know why I do those actions, because that why is what drives me. And so if I look at my core principles of connection, enthusiasm, and freedom, that's what drives me. It's CEF. It's been that way consistently. So I know that's going to be there. I know I love sports. I know I love concerts. And I know that I love cars. So all these things are going to be wired into that. And I just build that number it to happen to be there. So for me, we're just going to use round numbers so they're easy to go through. So let's just say I know that living my ideal life to be able to go there is going to be about 30K a month. All right. Well, I also know that when something is less than 20% of what you make, you don't really care. You're not going to think twice about it. If you're taking home 10 grand a month and your expenses are only $2,000 a month, you're not going to be worried if something goes. You're not going to be worried if somebody comes. Now, you can have lifestyle creep and other things to be there, but you're not really going to be too concerned about it. You're going to sit there at a space and go, all right, if I need to go on the vacation and it costs a little bit more because plane ticket, whatever. Time is our ally. Time matters more than anything else. So you start realizing there are certain things you can do. So let's just use a number of 30K a month. So at 30K a month, if I know I need to 5X that, now my real goal in life is to get to a place where I'm making 150K per month. Now that becomes the goal. And I say in 3 years, that's the objective, to be able to go there. So the first thing I do, once I define what matters for me and my family, because I may have one different desire, but if you happen to live in a 2-person household, you need to figure out what their desires are too, and what kind of lifestyle they like too. So I go through that process and I look at it and say, all right, this is what happens. So we're going to use the 150 number, because me and my wife have talked about different things that we like and don't like, and what we want to spend, what we don't want to spend, yada, yada, yada. We already went through those details. So now that's in the micro. That's what costs are happen to be there. You get to the number of 150. Now let's zoom out. 3 years from now, I got to evaluate where I'm currently at. Am I currently in a vehicle that can reach that velocity of making 150K per month? And the answer is today, yes. A year ago, no. Wrong car. So I had to make the choice of moving into a vehicle that was going to be there, because I need to ensure anytime I have a dream or a desire that I think about in 3 years and I define that item, it means it's possible. Because the imagination is nothing more than a preview of what a life that is going to come to you if you're willing to grow into it. If you're willing to grow into it, then that means that's possible. But what ends up holding us back is normally going to be, sometimes it's relationships, friendships, belief systems, values, and so on and so forth. It's really more about unbecoming than actually becoming. Because in order to bring in a new operating system of thinking, you first have to remove the old programming. The problem is the old programming is so deeply intertwined. In the world of tech, we call this refactoring. You have to go and pull up all other stuff. It's such a process to be able to be there. But that's why it's about the journey, not the destination. So as I look at 3 years and I say, okay, that's possible to be able to be there. 150 a month is what I'm looking at being at. I can then create a system and a structure that's going to be there to help me get there. So it's the first, if that's the goal, to be able to be there. Who do I have to become? Who do I need to serve in order to be there? Because affluence is nothing more than just a measurement of influence. If you can go ahead and say, how many people do I have to serve? People that are billionaires is because they created something that has $1 billion worth of value. If not, they wouldn't be there. Jeff Bezos says this in general. He said, hey, look, I own 13% of Amazon. So me being valued at $200 billion means that there is over $2 trillion of value that I brought to the world. Yeah, play. If you're going to have a number, so if I'm going to the number of, let's just say, I'm going to go to the space of 1.8 million, then that means that I need to bring at least $18 to $20 million a year of value, which means I got to play a different game. If I'm at a space, so there's a couple options. Now you get to the place of how do I actually build $18 million worth of value? I need to create $18 million worth of opportunity. So how do I do that? I do that by serving customers. So you can go into a space of, let's just say, real estate, because it's an easy thing to do it. So if I'm going to go ahead and have that using the 1% rule to make 1.8 million, that means I need to have at least $180 million worth of assets, of cash producing assets that are going to provide that if I'm using real estate. So if I know that based upon the 1% rule and I find that and I have certain leverage points, it probably is more like I would say I probably need $300 million because just knowing of debt service and be able to be there. So then the goal becomes very clear. How do I get $300 million worth of assets under management to be able to provide that for me? I'm here to tell you 10x is way easier than 2x because there's less competition. The room is less crowded at the top. It's harder to climb the mountain, but once you're up there, the views are incredible. Not too many people are willing to do that. You want to know why? Their beliefs hold them back. If all we are is a bunch of beliefs, a belief is something that you believe to be true or false. Doesn't mean it actually is or not. A value is a belief that's anchored more of its roots, kind of like a flower. The deeper the root, the more you have to pull it. A principle is something that is a value that you've tested over time. And a value is something like a principle is just something that you like tested it, be able to be there, and you really deeply anchored. It's like an oak tree, as tall as it is on the top. This is how long the roots are. But if you don't audit your beliefs, your values, principles, how do you actually know they're true? Because I'm willing to bet most people are given to them, never actually challenge them. So if I look at that space, I go and I'm like, all right, cool. I know that in general because this is a jungle. This is like a contact. This is a full contact sport, by the way. For me, things are going to kick you in your face. But that's also the fun part. If it wasn't challenging, it wouldn't be fun. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Do we want an easy life? Do we want a life worth living? Those are the things. So let's get tactical, right? So let's just say $300 million worth of real estate is what I need to do as a goal. Guess what I now do? I look at and say, what is going to give me that opportunity? If I do single family homes, yeah, that's going to take me, homes, saying the average single family home is 500 grand. That means I have to do 700 transactions over the next 3 years. Break that down into 3 years. Pretty much that's almost a trend. Like how many working days there are per year. I got to be closing on a home every single day. Right? So if I'm dealing with that many tenants, that makes it even more fun. Okay, that math isn't mathing very well. Okay, well, what are the other options I have? I could go multifamily. Well, crap, multifamily deal. That's like 2 large apartment complexes, maybe 3. Now you're seeing what I'm thinking. Look at 3 apartment buildings, typically on a $300 million transaction. There are like, I got to find 25%, because most people do debt service of about 75-25. So that means I need to find $60 million in order to cover the debt service. So I go, okay, I have 2 options. I either have that money in the bank or I use the strategy that I said before, which is OPM. I use other people's money to raise it. So now the focus becomes, I only got to find 60 million of, and so if I look at typical buy-in, different things to be able to be there based upon the deal, now I'm at a place where I need to find people that want to join me on my journey to go make that a reality. And you know, the crazy part is they're everywhere. So then I break that down onto a daily basis. of like, if I'm going on the journey of 60 million, what I'm going to do is every day I have to look at the skills of what is going to be required in order to attract 60 million. I got to understand where these golden geese lie. I got to understand deal structures. I have to understand like skills to be able to be there. So every day I'm going to carve out an hour of learning with these groups. Every month I'm going to carve out 2 days that I go meet these groups, because success loves speed. It also loves motion. Motion builds momentum. So as I get the opportunity, so every day I'm waking up and ask myself one simple question: how many investors did I connect with today? That's it. So if you look back to what I told you before about ensuring that you understand like who you want to serve, how many hours you want to work, then I'm going to carve out a percentage of my day, because that is the big domino that's going to move everything else. Yeah, I got to find the properties and find the deals to be able to be there. So there's another thing I'm going to be evaluating. Now we got two things: investors, how many properties did I look at today? Because I need to understand like markets, trends. And the reality is I also know it's great to find other smart people. Smart people are looking to mentor other people. I was on a call yesterday. These gentlemen have 25, 30 plus years of experience when it comes to the world of real estate. Know what they love more than anything else? Somebody who's curious, who wants to learn what they're learning. Sometimes you have to pay for it, sometimes you don't. Don't have resistance around that. But when you get to a certain point, you have more time. So what do these people invest in? Somebody else to do the work for them. So it may start out with being like, I need to, in order to get access to that person's dollars and cents, they have a deal they're working on and they're looking for investors. We don't control the how. We control the why and the what as far as the actions we're going to take. That's the secret sauce. So as I go through those moments, bigger deals take the same amount of time as smaller deals, but bigger deals take greater self-confidence and self-development in oneself in order to make them come to fruition. So when I look at those goals, I say every day, there's only a couple things I really need to do. And I can measure that very simply. How many investors have I talked to this week? How many real estate professionals have I talked to this week? And what type of self-development am I doing daily? You look at Warren Buffett, he reads more than half his day. Imagine the person you would be if you read an hour a day on a topic, and you spent that over the course of an entire year. You have 365 hours of understanding a particular topic. Then imagine if you went out to your social media profiles and you started looking for those type of things. The algorithm would change. The ads served to you would change. The things you're going to see are going to change. The audiobooks you listen to are going to change, because you changed your focus of what you're looking at. Now, a year from now, you're a monster. Why? Because you went out and went to self-education university. 2 years, 3 years from now, you're an expert, because you've spent thousands of hours on one particular topic, one focus. Even in 3 years, the reality that's probably going to be is one of two things are going to happen. You're only at $100 million of properties. Oh, woe is me. I'm sorry. I'm not making the number that I thought I was going to make. I'm only making $1 million a year, not 150K. Well, 5 years from now, you're probably at 300, because it starts compounding. You forget about the law of compounding. It'll compound and compound and compound. And you're there accidentally, but intentionally. Because what you're doing is you understand small things matter. Small actions over time will matter. It will grow and you'll be in there. And so that's a little bit about my philosophy. We can go into way more details. It's probably like if somebody has different questions, I'm always willing to hop on like a Zoom to draw it out, grab a whiteboard, be able to go through those things, because that's how I do things consistently over time. is I break him down into small consumable things, because eating an entire elephant, man, that's overwhelming. That's going to stress me out. But if I move it down to smaller bite sizes, I now get to a point where I can do that. I can read 10 pages a day. I can watch one YouTube video a day. Okay, I can join one Facebook group a day. Have conversations, having discussions. And then before you know it, you accelerate. It becomes automatic with what you are. Be curious, be humble, be transparent. Ask questions. Too many people are out there posturing, pretending like they know. I ain't got time for that. I'm comfortable with me. I'm comfortable to know that I'm always willing to learn. And those are the things that I want you to understand. So land the plane with a tactical action. Identify what you really want. Once you know what you want, then reverse engineer the process. Make it into small bite-sized chunks. And then you can be able to execute, and your dreams become your reality. As always, you can find me on all social media platforms at Sylvania Harrod. Really appreciate you staying tuned and listening to this episode. Have a grateful week. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a review on your preferred podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more people ready to explore contrarian investment strategies. Stay connected with us on social media for more expert insights, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on upcoming episodes. You can find all the links in the show notes. Until next time, stay bold, think differently, and keep pursuing the legacy you deserve. Thanks for listening to the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast.